Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I'm your host, Randi-lee. On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode. So today with us, we have Kim Lengling. Hello, how are you?
I am doing awesome. How are you this morning or today? Whatever
I-
time of day it is for you.
It is morning. It's going all right. I forgot that I needed to clean my office a little bit more. So I should have came up here a little earlier. It's okay. So where are you joining us from?
From Pennsylvania, Northwest Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's not too far from me. I've gone there before, like just driving.
There you go. Drive
Flowers.
one.
Flowers, fine. Awesome. Before we get started, I want to show off this beautiful cup from our merch store. Isn't it beautiful? So anybody who would like to buy it, it is in our merch store. The link is on in the YouTube description thing. And I just want to point this out that this is one of my brother's designs. And if you have been following the show, you know that my brother is dead. And so a portion of 10% of all the proceeds always goes back to Canadian Mental Health Association. When it's his designs, they will go to addiction services specifically.
Awesome.
Wanted to show that off because it's so super cute.
It is. That's an awesome mission too, by the way.
Thank you. So let's get into it now that I've done, some self-promotion there. So tell us a little bit about who Kim Lengling from Pennsylvania is.
Well, I am an author and I've got numerous books out there, my own, as well as I was a co-author in, I think, 10 anthologies now, which are just fun to do. And I coordinate anthologies as well. So I bring people together to share their stories and get them published in a book. And the one that I'm working on now that is, so close to ready to being published is called Paw Prints on the Couch. And yes, as you can probably guess, those are stories about families or individuals and their pets, whatever type of pet it may be, and how that pet has enriched their lives, if not helped them on
Question.
their journey.
What is the most interesting pet in that book?
A horse.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
There's
Yeah,
one horse. There's one horse in the book.
that's awesome. Because, like, as soon as you think pets, you always immediately go cats, dogs, fish, rabbits, maybe guinea pig, hamster. So,
Well, and interestingly enough, it is all cats and dogs except for that one horse.
see, I had a feeling that cats and dogs was going to definitely take up majority of it, and
Yep.
then you had to have one interesting one. I like it.
Well, and I am hoping that, if this one goes well enough and I would love to have, and I'd just like to keep going with it, volume 1, 2, 3.
Yeah,
Because everybody loves their pets.
exactly. And then you could have some like exotic ones come up, maybe.
Yes. Hey, if you have
I don't have any exotic pets, so I can't help you with
if you have a
that.
pet worm, I want to hear about it, and so does the world. So
So comment down below and Kim will see it and she'll be like, yes, let's hook up. Let's do this.
absolutely, no, seriously, if you have a story that you would love to share, I am more than open to chatting with people, seeing if it'd be a good fit, if their story would be great. I have no problem pre-planning a second volume before the first one's even out.
Do it. I am so down for that.
And well, why don't you participate? You've got animals.
I have lots. Who would I pick? I know who I would pick. I have a tattoo of her.
Oh, wonderful. Well, in this first volume, I gave everybody the opportunity to have two stories because a lot of people have at least two pets. So there are 2 or 3 in there that they shared a story about each of their 2 pets. So
that's awesome. I have 7.
I just have the one, but I have all the critters. I call it my realm. I am the queen of the realm.
Oh, there you go.
So my realm, I live in the country and all the critters out there. I'm like, I could write a story about all the critters that enter,
Totally
come and
could.
go as they please in my realm because I've got it all here.
Totally could. Yeah, currently I have 7 because I have 4 cats, 3 dogs. And we have had 4 cats over the years that we've been together, my husband and I. We've had 4 cats pass away, and actually the one that I was like, I know who I would write about. She passed away a few years ago, but I had her for 19 years. I actually wrote a kid's book about her. Diamond the cat is what it's called,
Awesome.
because her name is Diamond, because a diamond is a girl's best friend.
There is in the book, the Paw Prints, there is a young lady she shared, and I think he has passed away as well. It was a big boy, big dog named Diamond. Yeah.
Diamond is a girl's best friend.
Yes. Yes.
Nobody said they had to be those shiny things. Psh.
Right. Right. And she mentions that Diamond was this girl's best friend. Yeah. Oh.
I could talk about pets forever, but I suppose we should maybe talk about the topic of mental health. Probably.
Well,
which pets help
pets help with that. Many pets and many people. I'm a veteran, and I live with PTSD, and I can honestly say that the dogs that I've had in my life, the one I had for 14 years, I had to say goodbye to him 4 years ago. His name was Digger. He was my rock. He became so in tune with me, because there were years before I addressed things in a healthy manner.
Yeah.
And before I addressed it and said, wow, this is a problem. Whereas before it was just stuff it. You're a veteran, for God's sakes, Kim. You
right?
can
Just
handle
put
this.
it down there.
Yeah. Stuff it down. It will come out. It will come out, and mine blasted out. The doors just were like blown open, and found myself on my knees crying out to a God that I had told myself I didn't believe in. Because if he was there, why'd all this crap happen?
That is always the question I feel like we ask. If
yes,
you're really there, why? And
right.
we'll probably never know why.
Never know. But sometimes there's little glimpses, because if I had not went through, now I'm certainly not saying you wish anything on anyone, but on my own personal journey, looking back over 30 years to where I am today, I wouldn't be sharing my story and touching others' hearts that are in that same spot and they've not yet reached out for help. And then they're like, oh, maybe I can. Yes. Maybe I'm not worthless. Maybe I don't need to live in this dark, depressive state anymore. Yes. Maybe I can smile. Maybe I can laugh again. And this is a topic that's just, I get so, well, here I am getting all teary-eyed. Because
it's okay, that's what we're here for.
Over the years, the people that I've met, even though it's still hard to this day, all these years later, to share my specific story, it touches someone that you least expect. And I want to share a short example. Years ago, when I had first shared my story, I was asked to be a co-author in a book called Inspire. That was back in 2014. And that was kind of the catalyst of things like, churning away, just getting ready to come out, working themselves up. And I shared that, and I kept it real general in my chapter. Then I was asked to go speak at churches and with women's groups and books groups, and a lot of they typically were in churches. Mm-hmm. So the one church I went to, for whatever reason, I was very, very worked up. I call it edgy. I was so edgy pulling into the church parking lot, and I'm like, why am I so edgy? I've given this talk numerous times. Yeah. Why? What is going on? And it just felt like something was going to happen, but I couldn't tell if it was good or bad. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling.
It's like kind of like a butterfly sort of, I have to do this.
Like a clenching butterfly, and you're just like, what's going on?
Yeah, it's not like a nervous butterfly where it's like, oh, there's butterflies. It's like moths. Let's call them moths.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, so you get it. You understand the feeling I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I shared my story. I think it was like a 20-minute talk. And usually when I share it's dead silent when I'm done, or people are crying. And because it's a pretty tough subject, and it's a tough story to hear and to share. And later, like they had refreshments, so I'm getting my cookie and my coffee
Gotta
and
have the cookies.
that's right. And signing copies of my book for the ladies that were there. And there was this one older lady that came up to me. She must have been in her 80s. And God bless her, she's probably passed by now because it was years ago, but she was in her 80s and she came up and had one of my books in her hand and she's, holding it to her chest. And she said, I want to thank you. And I said, you're more than welcome, dear heart. And she gave me a hug. And as she hugged me, she whispered so softly, the same thing happened to me. And I've never told anyone for over 70 years.
Oh my gosh.
And she leaned back, put her hands on my cheeks and just kind of gave me kiss. I was stunned. I had no words. And she had tears streaming down her face. And she just kept saying, thank you, really softly. Thank you. Thank you. I don't even think I got her name. But when I was driving home or getting in my car, and I'm sitting in my car and I had my hands on my steering wheel, and I went, that's why I was here. That's why I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Because she had this big old ball of darkness that she'd never told anyone about. And she felt safe enough, even if I was the only person that she shared that,
yeah,
second whisper. I pray that lifted something for her, off of her. 70 years. I just couldn't believe it. And
a long time.
Oh my goodness. I was stunned.
Yeah.
And then I realized she was the one, she was why I was there. And that is why I felt so nervous.
Yeah. I always say, as long as one person gets something out of each of these episodes, or for you, your talk in front of people, it's 100% worth it.
Right.
Like, I think that sometimes people forget that doing this stuff is a lot of work. Yes, all we're doing is talking, but there is a lot of prepping that we do ahead of time for the video stuff. There's a little bit of editing and got to post it and all that stuff. But I know when I've done in-person talks, there's so much prepping. And when you're talking about your journey, there's so much emotional prepping to do.
Yes.
Because you can't get up on the stage, start telling your story, and then just start crying so you can't finish it. That's not going to help. So there's so much heart that goes into it that we're not just talking. We are doing our very, very best to help at least that one person. And I'm so I'm just like, oh, that she did that. Because an episode I just recorded yesterday with someone. Remember how you were talking about Zoom earlier? My Zoom wasn't working last week, so I had to do it yesterday. And went on this whole big tangent about how back then, and for us, we were only talking about maybe 20 years ago, you didn't talk about any of this.
Oh, never.
So imagine 70 years ago. That's as soon as you said that, that's where my mind went. 70 years ago, you really didn't talk about it, because at least 20 years ago, it was sort of like it was coming on sitcoms and stuff. Like TV was starting to talk about it. But 70 years ago, oh my goodness.
No, it would have.
Tape your mouth shut.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I was so floored. I didn't know. I was stunned. I was speechless. I had no words to say to her at that point. And I don't think I needed them, because I had shared my story, and those are the words that she needed to hear.
Exactly.
So and there's been numerous occasions like that when I've been out speaking, because I do it regularly. And there's been numerous occasions. There was one I was asked to go to a youth church camp and share my story. And I said to my pastor, how old are these kids? And they said 13 to 18. I said, no, too young.
No,
this is too hard. I don't know. And he goes, how old were you when you went through what you went through? I said, I was a teenager. He goes, yeah.
Exactly.
And that one actually was one of the hardest ones, because they had it all set up. It's at this beautiful, beautiful camp on the lake shores of Erie. and they have this big setup out in the woods with a big bonfire and bleachers all around in the half a circle. And I was to stand in front of the bonfire and share my story. So it's got like, and it's in the evening, so it's dark and you're in the woods, and it's kind of got this whole vibe thing going on. And I'm like, oh, I was not anticipating this. And I started seriously, I was getting edgy and my chest is getting tight. I'm clenching. And I'm like, okay, Kim, just relax. Just relax. You've done this so many times. Never in front of kids, though. So I shared it and I tweaked it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I shared it, and total silence. And the kids were, but none of the kids, they were all zoomed in. I had their full attention.
And that's hard to do.
Yes, with that age range. And afterwards, I had 3 or 4 of the young kids. They came up and they're like, thank you so much. And, they're saying, wow, that was so brave of you to share that with us from their perspective of a young person.
Yeah.
And it was very comforting, actually, to hear that. 2 weeks later, my pastor reached out to me and he said, do you remember asking me on the drive home if you feel that you had, or what type of impact you may have had on those kids, if you just set one of fear in them or one of courage? And I said, yes, I do remember you asking that, because I kept saying, did I just put fear in them, or did I give someone out there maybe a little nugget of courage, a little nugget of hope? And he said, well, I got to tell you, one of the counselors called him, and a young lady later that night couldn't sleep, very, very worked up and upset, obviously anxious. She shared with her counselor things she had been going through and experiencing in her home. Oh, my goodness. And she'd never shared it because she was so afraid. And she shared it with the counselor at church camp. And she specifically said, it's because of that lady who came and talked to us.
Yeah, like I said, as long as we have one person that takes away something.
Yeah, she was 16.
And I think we often forget that bad things happen to very young children. I mean, 16 isn't very young, but still a kid.
Right.
But they can happen to very young kids. And we have to give them the space that they need to be able to have the courage to come forward.
Right.
And they're only going to do that if they see the adults in their life showing that same courage.
Right. Lead by example.
Exactly.
And those two stories, that one young lady and the older lady, they have no idea how much they touched my heart and what blessings they gave me.
I think that's also a very overlooked part of it, is that when we as the speaker hear back that we've touched their life in some meaningful way, that gives us the courage and the passion to keep going.
Yes. Yeah. And you had mentioned earlier the emotional toll.
Yeah.
It takes a huge emotional toll. No matter, for me, I'll speak from my own personal experience.
Always.
No matter how many times, like when I get off of here today, I will be mentally really tired.
Yeah.
I will be mentally very tired and need to go for a walk with my dog out in the woods.
Yeah. Dog.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's how I do. That's where I can breathe and I can settle and relax and, just breathe and be. That's why I'm like, I need to just be and I need to just breathe. But the emotional toll, and I know many, that are listening or watching, you may have been or are in the same spot, and you've shared it or spoken, or maybe you do public speak about it. Maybe you've written about it. You have that urge, you have that need to get it out there. At least I do. And it's because I know it's going to land on who it's supposed to land on.
Yes.
And any of the angst that I feel, that's, I'm releasing it by sharing, but it's so humbling when when the feedback that you receive, truly, it's so humbling. There are times I just have to sit down if someone says something to me, I just have to sit down. I'm like, my goodness, you've no idea. You humble me.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, the emotional toll, but also the emotional reward in it.
Yeah. I fully agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
It's hard to do, but I feel like we get back so much from it as well.
Oh, I
So
agree.
with, you were talking about going out for a walk with your dog. When you first fell to your knees, I remember you saying you fell to your knees, you were crying. And what kind of got you there? And then how did you pick yourself back up?
Well,
I know that was a big one.
yeah, good question. Um, like I had said, I was really good at stuffing, and my counselor says, Kim, you're a professional wall builder. You are really, really, really good at it.
Yeah.
And so my walls, my walls, sorry, my walls were built very strong, and they were built to last. This happened prior to me speaking to a counselor or anything like that. So, but on the outside, I was going through divorce. My grandmother, who I'm absolutely adored and was very close to, had just passed away, and a dear friend of mine had just taken their life. This was all within 3 months. And just this day, it was too much. And it literally brought me to my knees. Literally. I'm on my knees on my living room floor, just sobbing. I mean, those crazy, gut wrenching, body
Oh,
shaking sobs.
ugly
Yeah.
cries.
Oh, ugly, ugly cry.
Oh, yeah.
And at that time, I didn't attend church or anything either. That's why I say I was crying out to a God that I told myself I didn't believe in. I
Okay.
just
Yep.
kept saying, please. It's the only word I was saying. That's what I remember saying is please, please. And because I was just distraught, doesn't even cover it. And
Yeah.
I felt a whisper at that time. And the words were, but those who hope in the Lord. And I
Mm.
just kind of did this. I'm like, you know, I'm losing my mind. I think I've completely cracked. I mean, I'm having a mental breakdown. Seriously, that's what I thought. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm hearing things. And then I heard it again, very, very softly, but those who hope in the Lord. And then I just got frantic thinking that sounds so Bible-ish. That's what was my thought. That sounds so Bible-ish. And I'm like, wait a minute, do I have a Bible in this house? Oh, it's got to be one in this house somewhere. So I frantically searched the house, found a Bible because I knew I
Hmm.
had one somewhere, came back down to my living room floor, and I'm trying frantically to find these words. I'd never even read the Bible. So I'm like, there's
I'm
no
just
index,
like,
there's no index, there's no table of
yeah,
contents.
I'm picturing you, and like just to find that one sentence, there's a lot of words in there.
Right, right. But those who hope in the Lord. So I'm literally freaking out still. I'm crying and and then I just got angry and I took the Bible, and I just threw it on the floor, just threw it. And I have hardwood floors. So it hit, just hit, opened itself, hit, and then slid. And I'm like, I don't get it. I don't even know what that means. And I'm still crying and just crazy distraught. And then the third time, I hear it, audibly hear it, but those who hope in the Lord. And I'm like, I'm crazy. I'm completely crazy. And so I just leaned forward and put my hand on top of the Bible and slid it to me and picked it up, and it was open. And I looked down, and it was as if words literally were lit up. And the
Mm.
words were, but those who hope in the Lord will soar on wings like eagles. They will walk and not grow weary. They will run and not faint. Isaiah. And I read that.
I knew that was gonna happen.
I read that and I went, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And that moment, I still get goosebumps thinking about it because it was incredibly powerful. And in that
Yes.
moment, a shift happened. It was like, okay, wow, Kim, you're not alone. you just had the big guy whispering at you. Yeah, you're on your knees on your floor, snot coming down your face.
Oh,
I mean, it's just horrible. It was horrible. Everybody's been there at least one point in their life.
oh yeah.
And to hear that in the midst of all that I heard it was, to me, I'm still in awe about that it got through. And that was a shift. That was a shift, a big shift in my life. Did things turn for beautiful stuff immediately? No. Journey. It's a journey, folks. And
Yep.
it's been like 15 years, and I'm still on that same journey, but it did shift. I began attending church, even though I didn't want to. I didn't want to go to church, but I found myself making myself go. I would walk in angry and I would leave angry. I was so good at carrying a chip on my shoulder. I mean, I named him, so it's like, come on, Bob, let's go to church.
Oh, geez.
But after, it took a while. It was a while. But I still kept going. I kept going, even though I didn't want to. And I was angry. Because I'm like, who is this guy if they're talking about Jesus? Are you kidding me? That was my mindset.
Yep.
And then for whatever reason, this one sermon, it was like it was an Easter sermon. Our church had burnt down, so they were holding services in the high school gym. So we're just all in these folding chairs across the whole gym floor. And the pastor, it was Easter, so he's praying. And everybody, he says, please, grab your neighbor's hand, let's bow our heads and pray. So he's doing his prayer. And as he's praying, it was as if I went into a tunnel. All sound ceased. There was no sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just thinking very briefly, what happened? And then this wave of peace. It was a wave. It just enveloped me. And I remember getting goosebumps and feeling all the hair on all my body stand up. And I had tears just streaming. And I didn't realize I was crying until I saw the teardrops landing on my slacks, on my lap. And I was holding my daughter's hand and a stranger's hand beside me. And I turned to my daughter and I went, do you feel that? And she just went, wow, mommy. She was real little at the time.
Yeah.
And her eyes were huge. She goes, oh, wow, mommy. And I just went, and I turned to the guy beside me, didn't even say a word. He just looked at me. He had these piercing blue eyes. He just looked at me and he went, and I didn't even say a word. I just turned and looked at him like, and he goes, praise Jesus. And that was all he said. Wow. I left that church service with my daughter, hand in hand with my daughter. We were humming the song that was last played, and we literally were skipping out to the parking lot. My daughter's laughing. It's a beautiful Easter day, and she had on a little dress, her little Easter dress with a little Easter bonnet. And she's holding on. I will always remember that, because she was holding on to her little hat with her one hand and holding on to my hand with the other. And she's just singing and skipping, and we're laughing. And it was the joy was ridiculous. And I can honestly say, I don't know if I've experienced that, the strength of that word joy, since that moment, just quite like that. And that, it's not anything I can explain. And that, some people will be like, wow, you're just, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. People can think what they want. I know what it meant and what it did for me. And that, which was months later, that was a bigger turning point for me, where I could look at the world through my daughter's eyes and in awe and wonder, instead of always through those darkened lenses where there's evil lurking everywhere.
Yeah. That's, you smell so
it's amazing. It's and I will never forget those two moments, ever.
No, it doesn't sound like it. They're like, what are those called? I watched some movie and it was like, there's certain moments that can never be changed. They have to happen. I can't remember what they called it in the movie, but it was like,
I know what you're talking about, and I can't think of it. I know what you're talking about, though.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. Okay, so what from there, what did you, what kind of things did you learn to help you deal with all of that?
Well, first off, I began seeing a counselor because I had not. I still didn't want to go see a counselor because, I'm strong.
Oh, exactly, totally.
And my veteran family, and thank goodness for them, they had been watching me, and they're like, we don't know what you went through, but we know the signs because we live with them. And these are combat Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
And they said, so if you don't take your butt to the VA, we will drag you to the VA.
Good friends.
And I said, I'm not going. I was actually quite angry that they even thought to tell me they thought I needed help. I was very angry. And I remember and used really harsh words with them, very harsh words with them. And that didn't faze them in the least. And it wasn't a few days later that they showed up and they did drag me there. I was so angry, but they did drag me, kicking and screaming, just like they said they would.
Good for them in this moment.
Exactly. And, even though for that day and probably a little while after, I was pretty ticked off at them.
I could imagine.
I look back, though, and see them for the huge blessings that they were, and knowing their stories of what they went through, for them to step outside of their own stuff and say, hey, and they call me little sis, we don't know what's going on, but we notice it. We notice the signs. We're going to help you. And that took a lot for them to do too.
Oh, for sure. I think that is where we spent most of your last interview on, is that part, because I'm remembering that, because I was like, I don't remember us talking about going to a camp and stuff, but this I am starting to remember. So everybody, this is not Kim's first time on the show. I forgot to mention that. Normally I mention that up front. This is her second time on the show. And so if you want to hear more about that specific part of her journey, go on back, because I don't like to repeat stuff, right? We want new info, which we've totally given us so far. So go on back, find Kim's first episode way at the beginning, and be sure to watch it. And she goes into much more depth about her VA pals dragging her there. I remember that so vividly, and that part of her journey. So for not that I want to skip things or leave people in the lurch, but like go back and watch it. What has been your favorite coping strategy that you have learned over the years?
There's a couple, and one, I'm going to use a prop here.
Ooh, I like props.
My counselor, and she's used this with me numerous times, because you get so in your bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And she says, Kim, what's in front of your face right now? I'm like, what do you mean, what's in front of my face? And she goes, do you have a Kleenex box there? And I said, yeah. And she goes, pick it up. I said, okay, I've got my Kleenex box. She goes, now put it in front of your face. So here I am, in front of my face. And she goes, what can you see? I said, nothing. It's all blurry because my eyes are up against this Kleenex box. Yeah. She says, exactly. That's what you're doing right now. Everything's blurred out and blocked out. Life is blurred and blocked out because you're keeping all of your trauma right here up against your nose. And
that,
yeah,
damn,
try it. It's amazing. And I mean, physically,
you can use anything. It doesn't have to be a tissue box. It could be a cup. It could be a book. You can't.
Exactly. Yes. So that has stuck with me. And she's brought that little nugget out over the years to remind me if I'm having one of those days, and she'll be like,
get your box.
I'm like, I know.
That's funny.
But it's, and I'm a very visual person. So having that to actually pick it up and put it on my face, that
Yeah.
brings it so
Well,
to home
that's just
for
it.
me.
That's why I was like, wow. Because
Right.
even without doing that, I'm visual. So I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah.
And it really brings it into perspective. It's like,
Yes.
you're right. I can't see anything. I can't even focus on what's in front of
Yeah.
me because it's so blurred out and it covers everything. And so peeling those layers back is not easy, which I'm sure you know, but that's a tool that I remember, and I'll still think of it. Even if I don't have a Kleenex box, I'll be like, Kim, what do you see?
Exactly. You just have to put your hand in front of your face,
Yeah.
really.
And the other one is to this is an interesting one. They were trying a new program with me. I was their guinea pig. And I can't even remember the name of the therapy. It's not CPT, something else. Can't remember. But and this was a different counselor. So she said, all right, you're very visual, and you have such an imagination that you can put yourself in places without
Okay.
a problem. And she said, that's probably why you're a writer. So she said, okay, put yourself in a movie theater.
Okay.
She goes, now where do you see yourself in that movie theater? I go,
Okay.
I'm sitting
Hold
in
on. Everybody
yeah.
close your eyes and let's visualize we're in a movie theater. Okay.
Okay. So you're in a movie theater. So where do you see yourself? Well, I saw myself sitting in the seat getting ready to watch a movie.
Mhm.
And she goes, okay, this movie is going to be your trauma.
Ooh.
Now, where do you see yourself? I said, I see myself getting out of my seat and walking out of the theater.
I went and hid under my chair.
And she said, well, there's three places you can be. You can be in the movie, reliving it over and over again on replay. You can be someone who's watching it in the seat. You're still physically feeling it. You're feeling all those emotions because you're watching it and you're very empathetic and you're like, oh my gosh, oh no, don't let her, oh no, this, oh, and you get all worked up, but it's not you're not physically feeling it. You're feeling a different type of emotion. You're feeling empathy for the person you see in your movie. Or you are up in the booth and in complete control of the movie.
That didn't
Complete
even
control.
dawn on me to be up there.
And she said, so now where are you? And I said, well, damn, I left my seat. Instead of leaving the building, I'm walking up to the control room. She goes, what are you going to do? I go, I'm going to stop the movie because it's not worth watching over and over again.
Oh, I like that. And see, this is why I love talking to so many different people because everyone has just little different nuggets.
That one was really powerful
Yeah.
for me that day. And I still remember that day that we were going through that because it was tough.
Yeah.
It was very hard. But then when I realized, duh, I am in control.
Right? I know. When my therapist would say stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, okay, you're right.
So no, a lot of times I'll laugh and say, oh, so there you are being rational again.
Right? I used to always say to her, why you gotta call me out like that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'll be like, oh, okay, I guess I then, don't I?
Ugh,
You
right?
know?
I
But
mean, yay, you're
that
good at your
whole
job, but like,
I have told my counselor several times, you're really good at your job and it makes me really not like you right now.
yep,
And she goes, you
exactly.
know what, Kim? You don't have to like me at all. And she always says it with a big smile.
Yep. Oh my goodness. I like her. I have no idea who she is, but I like her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. I've been very, uh, very blessed through the VA actually to have the help that I've gotten and the assistance, through tough days, you know. You still carry it with you, and
Yeah.
and it's so much better. Please don't think, that it's not. It's so much better. I'm more comfortable still continuing to see a counselor. For me, it's like, you take your car in for regular maintenance. you know I
Yep.
need I need the
Exactly.
regular maintenance because sometimes life just slams you, and then all these little darts come flying at you and you're like, wait a minute, I thought I got rid of you guys.
Yep. And sometimes you need that slap of reality check from your counselor to be like, hey, now remember,
Right.
where are you sitting in that theater?
Right. Right. Or you got yourself a Kleenex box.
Right? Exactly. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of mentioned what you've written, but let's get into it a little bit. Tell us what you've written, where we find it, where we follow you.
I'm on all my books are on Amazon just under my name, Kim Lengling. And they at the beginning of the pandemic, a beautiful lady that I met over in the UK, she was just starting up a faith-based publishing company. And I said, I've had this book idea, so we kind of worked together and collaborated. And we were able to get 3 anthologies called When Grace Found Me. 3 anthologies done. There's 20 women in each from all over the world sharing their stories of when Grace found them. Kind of like when I was
And
on my
guys,
knees in the living room
it's
floor.
pretty interesting. I have already reviewed not all three of them.
Oh, you did review one, yeah.
I did. I reviewed one of them. I think the third one
It might have been the third one, yeah.
I
And
think
and
so.
they're not for everybody,
No,
but
and no
they
book ever
are
is.
for whose hands they land in. And you might not like or even need every story, but there's going to be one story in there that's going to resonate with you.
Exactly. Yeah, I remember a couple of them. They were pretty good. I liked it. So, guys, if you're like, do I believe them? Go back in the blog, find my actual review, go read it.
And then the next one after that was called When Hope Found Me. That was released last November. And that one to me is the best one to date, for whatever reason, just my
And
own
yet you didn't
personal thing.
send me that one. Okay.
And then, so of course, the one that's coming up is yet again another anthology, because I love coordinate those. So just another reminder, folks, if you have a story, reach out, see what I might be having that's on my back burner for now. But Paw Prints on the Couch will be coming out. I'm really hoping in the next month or two. It's so close. And I have 2 other ones I'm working on that are not anthologies. They're just me, because I've been on this mission of tossing out nuggets of hope. And that word hope has been with me for 2 years now. And I've been constantly saying for 2 years, all these little nuggets of hope I'm tossing out. And so I'm working on 2 different books. It's going to be I'm thinking, I don't know, I haven't decided yet if it's going to be a volume 1, volume 2, but it's literally called Nuggets of Hope. And this one is Nuggets of Hope, Practice Kindness. And the other one is the first one. I don't know. I'm still working on them. They're both work in progress, but it will be all versions of Nuggets of Hope. And how I've been giving nuggets of hope to people, literal physical nuggets of hope. These little stones. Yeah. So I carry these with me wherever I go. And I always have one at hand. And I've felt strongly nudged, because I was seeing the word hope everywhere, all over the place. And I'm like, what is going on? Then I'm like, okay, all right, God, is this something you're trying to tell me? And it was, yes, it was a very firm yes. And you are to provide hope to people. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This mess here, you want me to give hope to people?
It is always the messiest.
Yes. And it got to the point where it was like, okay, no, I need you to approach a person and give them hope. And I'm like, oh my goodness, and I was actually overwrought by it. Mm-hmm. Thinking I'm stepping way outside my comfort zone. I can talk to anybody, but to just approach a stranger randomly,
right?
Say, yeah. Hey, you need some hope, But I started thinking about it and overthought it, of course.
Always.
Then I got online and I'm like, I came across these and I went, oh, aren't those pretty little nuggets? Nuggets of hope. Wow. So I started carrying them with me. So anytime I'm out and about doing my errands or whatever, gas station, Walmart, church, wherever, someone is always put in front of me. I'll get a very strong feeling of a person. And I'll be like, oh, all right, okay, I'm supposed to, all right. So I reach in my pocket, I grab my little nugget of hope, and I approach strangers. And I've done this dozens and dozens of times. I just approach them, and they're always people I don't know. And I just say, excuse me, ma'am, or excuse me, sir. I would love to give you a nugget of hope today. And I just put my hand out, and without fail, they've put their hand out, which amazes me because I'm a
I was
straight.
gonna say, am I just looking at you like you crazy?
Yeah, well, I've had a couple of those, but without fail, they open up their hand, and I just gently place the stone, and I say, I just want to give you a nugget of hope today. Be blessed. And I turn and walk away. I don't feel I'm supposed to stand and talk to them. I'm not supposed to ask them questions. I'm not
Yeah.
supposed to get to know them. I'm just supposed to give them a little nugget of hope. And I've been doing that for the last year.
Wow.
And yeah, dozens and dozens of little nuggets I've handed out. And I've had the range of emotions. I've had people bust out crying. I've had people just silently, tears start falling. I've had these huge, huge smiles. I've had laughter, and I've had, the looks of like, who are you? You know?
Yep.
And then I had one older gentleman who was incredibly angry and let me know how angry he was, and that he didn't want any of my bleepity bleep hope. And that
Yeah.
was fine too. I didn't take it personal at all.
Yeah.
And I knew that, and he was an older gentleman, probably in his mid to late 80s. And he didn't look, he's frail, very frail. And I got to my car and cried after that one, not because he hurt my feelings because he yelled at me, but because I felt so strongly that he was struggling just to get his errands done. He was frustrated because he couldn't find what he needed. And I just happened to be right in his face with my little nugget of hope and smile, because he literally said, "What the hell is there to hope for?" And yelled it in the store. And I just stood
Yeah.
there and I went, "Sir, hope is always around. It's whatever it is that you need." And he wanted nothing to do with my
Yeah.
calm demeanor or my smile or my hope. And that's perfectly fine. But he did put that little nugget of hope in his pocket.
Oh.
And so I thought, okay, as I'm in my car crying, thinking about it, that gentleman very well could be coming off a really long illness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken all he has to get his errands done, and he's exhausted and he just wants to be home. Maybe he's caring for his wife. Maybe she's ill. Maybe she has cancer. Maybe she has Alzheimer's. And if anyone out there's a caregiver, that's 24/7. And you know how exhausting emotionally, physically, the toll that it takes on you. So I thought, well, maybe he's in that kind of situation. Maybe he just lost his wife and he has no idea how to do things. It's just slipping his mind now. He's like, I can't even find the right. He was angry because he couldn't find the right dish soap.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, maybe he lost his wife and he can't find the dish soap that she always used.
Yeah.
And that was the camel. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. We don't know what is behind all of those masks that everybody puts on their face before they walk out their back door.
Yes.
We don't know. So I didn't take offense at him.
Mm-hmm.
But it just touched me so much. I sat in my car for about 5 minutes and cried. I just cried. And because I so felt his hurt is what it
Mm-hmm.
was. I so felt it. And that's why I was like, Kim, you're not going to take any of this personally, but boy, I felt the hurt just flying off of him.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if I needed to be that person that God put in front of him that day to take that, then
Yep.
okay. All
Yeah.
right. And I've had other people give me a look like, oh, this one gentleman, he had a Vietnam vet baseball cap on. I saw him in the store. Every aisle I went down, there he was. And I'm like, is that the guy? Really? Are you sure? And literally and I kept telling myself, no, that's not the person I'm supposed to do this for today. But every time I turned around, there he was. I mean, in every section of the store, there he was. And I'm like, ugh. So I get my stuff, I pay for it. I'm walking out to my car. And as I'm pushing my cart out to my car, there he is, a few cars away from mine, putting his groceries in the trunk of his car. And I just went, oh gosh, okay.
Right.
So I approached him, and he had his back to me. So I, of course, let him know I was coming. I said, excuse me, sir. So I didn't.
Yeah.
With veterans, you don't want to ever approach them from the back and startle them.
Yes.
So I, let him know I was there, and he slowly turned and looked at me, and I said, sir, I would love to give you something today. And it's just a little nugget of hope. And he held his hand out, and I put it there. He looked at it, looked at me, went, thanks. And turned back to putting his stuff in his trunk. And I went, have a blessed day. And I turned and I'm like walking slowly to my car going, was that really the person? And then I heard from behind me, oh. And so I stopped and just turned back. And there he was. He had pulled the nugget out of his pocket and was looking at it. Just staring at his hand, at the little nugget down in his hand. Never lifted his head up, didn't see me stop and turning around. And I saw that and I just went, okay. And then I was like tiptoeing to my car, so I wouldn't make noise. And I got in my car and I sat there for a minute. And yeah, that was a powerful one too, because I don't know what was going on with him. And he accepted me handing it to him, but he didn't even look at it and just shoved it in his pocket.
Yeah.
And then I heard that, oh. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's what
I like it.
I'm just chucking nuggets of hope out there.
So where do people follow you?
I am pretty much on all the platforms. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Best place if you want to check out what I'm doing, what's coming up, or what I've done is on my website, which is just my name, kimlenglingauthor.com. And that's the easiest way. You want to contact me, you have if you've got a story, a pet story that you would like to share, yeah, please reach out, because I really do think I want to do a second one, even though the first one's not out there yet. They take a while to put together anyway, folks.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Yeah, it would be awesome. So you can contact me right through my website. That's probably the easiest way.
Excellent. So thank you so much, Kim, for being on the show, sharing with us, and who knows, maybe you'll come back another day.
I'd love to. It's always fun talking to you.
Bye. As always, thank you so much for the amazing guests that we have on the show. Be sure to check out their links down in the description below. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merch store. We've got some very cool things on there. That's my favorite. Sorry, I'm busy ending the stigma. But there's some other very cool designs. 10% of the proceeds always goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at RB Media, because we have some great new shows coming up and you never want to miss any of those episodes. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye.